She was small, frail, and invisible to the world, a little black girl with empty hands and an empty stomach. People passed her by as if she didn't exist. When she gathered the courage to ask, "Can I play for food?" they didn't offer kindness. They laughed. They mocked. To them, she was just another homeless child, undeserving of compassion. But behind those tired eyes lived a gift so extraordinary, it could silence an entire room and expose the cruelty of those who judged her. What they didn't know was that this forgotten girl was about to reveal the unthinkable. She hadn't always been homeless. Once, she was just a little girl with dreams, crayons scattered on the floor and melodies humming in her head. Music had always been her escape, the piano keys a place where her world made sense. But life was never kind. Poverty crept in, doors closed, and the world stopped seeing her as a child with a future. Instead, they saw only her skin, her hunger, her struggle. Day after day, she wandered the same streets, her stomach aching, her clothes worn thin. People looked away, or worse, looked right through her. She wasn't just hungry for food, she was starving for dignity, for a chance to be seen as more than that homeless black girl. And yet, in her silence, she carried a secret, a gift powerful enough to shatter every cruel assumption made about her. A gift no one around her was prepared to witness. Hunger had become her shadow. Each day felt like a test. How long could she go before her body gave out? On this particular evening, the scent of food drifted from a nearby cafe, warm bread and roasted meat filling the air. Her stomach ached so badly it hurt to breathe. She stood at the window, watching families laugh over plates she could never touch. That's when she noticed something in the corner of the cafe, a dusty old piano. Her heart skipped. She knew she could play. It was the only thing she truly knew how to do. Maybe, just maybe, if she asked, they'd let her play a song for food. She swallowed her pride, stepped inside, and whispered her request. The room went quiet. Then came the laughter. Not the kind that warms a room, but sharp, cold laughter that cuts deep. A homeless girl? Play the piano? The words weren't said aloud, but they didn't need to be. Every look, every smirk told her exactly what they thought. To them, she wasn't a child with talent. She was a nuisance, a joke, a little black girl daring to think she was worth listening to. Her face burned with shame. Eyes turned away, as if her presence was contamination. Some shook their heads, others pointed, whispering under their breath. It wasn't just rejection, it was humiliation. The kind that tells you, you don't belong here. You never will. But inside, something stirred. A mix of anger, hurt, and defiance. She could walk away, disappear into the cold night, and remain invisible. Or she could sit at that piano and show them who she really was. With trembling hands, she moved closer. The laughter grew louder, crueler, echoing in her ears. She paused, hovering above the bench. Her heart pounded so hard she could barely breathe. Could she really do this? What if they laughed even harder? What if they threw her out? And yet, what if she didn't? What if this was her only chance to prove that she was more than their labels, more than their prejudice, more than the hunger clawing at her bones? She sat down. Her fingers hovered above the keys. The room hushed for a brief second, curiosity flickering in their eyes. Then someone snickered, breaking the silence. The moment stretched, fragile as glass. One note could change everything. One song could either confirm their cruel laughter or silence it forever. Her fingers pressed the keys. A single note rang out, pure, haunting, impossible to ignore. The laughter faltered. Another note followed, then another, weaving into a melody that filled every corner of the cafe. The room froze. She wasn't just playing. She was pouring out every hunger pain, every night she shivered on cold pavement, every cruel glance that told her she was worthless. The piano became her voice, and it thundered louder than any insult they could throw at her. But even as the room fell silent, not everyone was listening with awe. A man near the counter sneered, his voice breaking through the melody. "She doesn't belong here. Send her back to the streets where she came from." Heads turned, the ugly words hanging heavy in the air. Others nodded, agreeing. It didn't matter how brilliantly she played. In their eyes, she was still just a homeless black girl daring to step into their world. The injustice cut deeper than hunger ever had. Here she was, proving her worth in the most undeniable way. Yet prejudice still tried to chain her down. The music wavered as tears blurred her vision. For a split second, she thought about stopping, letting the cruelty win. But then something inside her ignited. She straightened her back, pressed harder on the keys, and played with a force that demanded to be heard. Each note rose like a cry for every silenced voice, every overlooked child, every soul dismissed because of the color of their skin. The room shifted. Those who mocked grew quiet. Those who doubted leaned in. The power in her music was undeniable, unstoppable. And when the final note rang out, it lingered in the silence like a challenge, daring anyone to laugh again. When the final note faded, the room sat in stunned silence. No one laughed. No one mocked. For the first time in too long, she was seen, not as a burden, not as a punchline, but as a human being with a gift that couldn't be denied. A few clapped hesitantly, others looked away in shame. But the truth had already been revealed. The little girl they tried to dismiss carried more brilliance in her fingertips than their cruelty could ever erase. Still, the pain of that moment would stay with her. She had proven herself in the most undeniable way, yet the sting of their words lingered. Because this wasn't just about one girl and a piano. This was about how society sees and refuses to see children like her. About how quick we are to laugh at their struggles, to dismiss their worth, to let prejudice blind us to their humanity. Her music may have silenced that room, but beyond those walls, millions of other voices still go unheard. Millions of other children still fight the same battle, to be seen, to be valued, to simply be allowed to exist without judgment. Her story forces us to ask, how many gifts, how many dreams, how many lives are we destroying when we let racism and cruelty decide who deserves compassion? Maybe the better question is this: what would our world look like if, instead of mocking, we chose to listen?